This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Political factors affecting British Airways are Brexit and the removal of travel restrictions. Brexit may impose specific barriers to companies operating globally, including British Airways, forcing them to search for ways to overcome these barriers. In contrast, the removal of travel restrictions is a positive political factor. The restriction-free environment facilitates the aviation industry's recovery and increases the demand for airline services. Thus, British Airways' situation is likely to improve with new regulations. Economic factors include the pandemic's impact and increasing fuel prices. The government measures taken to contain the virus caused British Airways to report a total operating loss of €7.4 billion in 2020. As for fuel prices, the International Air Transport Association states that in 2021, the airline fuel bill increased by almost 30%. In 2022, fuel expenses will rise further due to a surge in oil prices resulting from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Since fuel is one of the essential expenses in the airline industry, this change is crucial for British Airways. The most important social factor is customer attitudes toward the brand. In the annual report, British Airways plc regards the erosion of the brand and a failure to meet customers' expectations as principal risks. This risk is significant because a recent survey of customer satisfaction revealed that British Airways was the second worst in a ranking of the 6 best short-haul airlines in the United Kingdom. Flight cancellations and refusals to refund damaged British Airways brand image, which may affect the company's future profitability. Technological factors include IT systems and IT infrastructure. The need to invest in solid IT infrastructure is driven by high fixed costs, security dependence, and competition intensity since technology assists companies in fleet planning, reservations, flight management, and other operations. Flawed or obsolete IT systems in airline companies can lead to operational issues and a loss of competitive advantage. The most important legal factor is non-compliance with laws and regulations. For example, in 2018, a data breach occurred in British Airways, affecting over 400,000 people and resulting in a fine of £20 million. Although this legal claim was subsequently settled, it shows that a company's failure to comply with laws and regulations can result in fines, financial losses, and reputational damage. The most critical issue among the environmental factors is decarbonization. Since airline companies are criticized for greenhouse gas emissions, many companies in this industry include emission-reducing activities in their corporate social responsibility agenda. Thus, since British Airways has to comply with international environmental regulations and meet customers' expectations regarding sustainability, the company is motivated to invest in developing fuel-efficient aircraft models and transitioning to carbon-neutral flights. An analysis of different factors influencing British Airways suggests that political, economic, and legal factors seem to be the most important. In particular, Brexit influences how British Airways will operate on new terms with European countries. The consequences of the pandemic and an increase in fuel prices directly influence the company's revenues and profitability. Finally, non-compliance with regulations can lead to substantial financial losses and reputational damage. Financial analysis. British Airways is a segment of International Consolidated Airlines Group SA, IAG. Its financial performance was stable until 2019. For example, in 2018, the firm's net income was $3.4 billion, decreasing to $1.9 billion in 2019. In 2020, the company had a loss of over $7 billion and then began a slow recovery. Further, some key financial ratios will be analyzed and compared. According to Pearson and Aldeluc, important solvency ratios include quick ratio, current ratio, and debt-to-equity ratio, while profitability ratios are return on sales, operating margin, and return on assets. Quick ratio shows the company's short-term liquidity. In British Airways, this indicator was at its lowest in 2020, similar to Ryanair. While both quick ratio and current ratio measure liquidity, the former refers to highly liquid assets, while the latter considers current assets. British Airways' current ratio changed over time similarly to its quick ratio, like in other airline companies. Since 2019, airline companies have increased their reliance on debt. Since 2020, British Airways and similar companies have begun to earn less money on their assets. In 2020, airline firms had a low proportion of revenues available for covering non-operating costs. The real-world events explaining these changes are related to the COVID-19 pandemic. This crisis led to lockdowns and travel restrictions, anxiety in global financial markets, and a reduction in workforce and fleet in airline companies. One may conclude that the pandemic led airline companies to financial losses. The graphs also reflect that the situation improved in 2021, and the airline industry is experiencing a recovery. If you want to find more works like this essay on British Airways, PESTLE analysis, head over to ivpanda.com. It has a collection of samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects.